Sustainability as we know it, it focuses on meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Corporate sustainability is often framed using the three pillars of people, planet, and profitability, or what's known as the triple bottom line. Sustainability is more important than ever before because we are nearing the point of no return in the climate risk. So the time has come for all to act. Although sustainability is everyone's responsibility in business, it begins with the board. The board is ultimately responsible for ensuring that sustainability and the right culture within the organization are aligned to the tone at the top set by them. Shareholders governance is shifting to a more inclusive stakeholders governance. Sustainability and the corporate governance go hand in hand at organizations with a clear purpose that inspires actions and delivers long-term value consistent with the expectations of the stakeholders. Here is question 2, the answer to question 2. ESG is a set of standards and metrics to evaluate a firm's non-financial performance across 3 dimensions: environmental, social, and governance. The topic of ESG is not new. ESG has its roots in socially responsible investing, in CSR, which dates back several decades. But the scale and scope of ESG have been evolving, and it's gaining more public and policy support, moving from a nice-to-have element to an increasingly vital and rewarding practice to long-term value creation and preservation. ESG is not only an activism or investment activity, but also a risk management activity. Because ESG is not something businesses do, it is everything they do, as we will see from the factors now. ESG dimensions are interconnected with a far-reaching impact on profitability, people, and nature. E, environmental, is concerned with the protection of nature, how a company performs as a steward of nature, and the climate risk is the highest risk facing humanity today, with the imperative challenge to transition to net zero by 2030 and limit the global warming to no more than 1.5 degrees. Social is all about people, the company's relationship with employees, their working conditions, health, safety, and its impact on the community, the workforce diversity, inclusion, and equity. G, it's a capital G, at least for me, is reflected in the tone at the top, the leadership, structures, independence, separation of the chairman and CEO, which is not very common in the US, compliance and anti-corruption, risk management, threats and opportunities, business ethics, executive pay, and some sustainable organizations have linked their executive pay to ESG goals. Diversity, gender and ethnic diversity, even generational diversity, thinking diversity. And that's not only in the board, which is a governance issue, but in the workforce, which becomes a social issue. It may be argued that without the capital G in the ESG, E and S may not exist or happen. It all comes down to ethical and effective leadership. It is important to note that the materiality of these ESG factors vary from sector to sector and business to business. ESG reporting and ESG reporting frameworks. ESG reporting enables the company to be more transparent about the risks and opportunities. It creates a common language for organization. ESG reporting is not easy. It includes the gathering and analysis of complex data set, qualitative, quantitative data. Currently, there is no universally agreed ESG reporting framework, but hopefully soon with the COP26, the United Nations Climate Change Conference happening next month here in the UK, the global leaders would agree on a universal reporting framework. But nevertheless, there are frameworks being used and widely used today. And the widely used frameworks, one is the GRI, Global Reporting Initiative. Second, the Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosure, TCFD. Third is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and it was developed initially to be national at the national level, but there are tools and the mechanism now to apply that to organization. And the fifth, also the US-based, is the Sustainability Accounting Standard Board. The Global Reporting Initiative, GRI, created the first set of sustainability standards in the world. And it is the most widely used standards on sustainability reporting today. 2/3 of the FTSE 500 are using GRI, with more than 5,000 organizations across more than 90 countries using it. And you can download the full report from this link, but it is 575 pages. TCFD is a highly priority for the investment and financial service firms, and it provides a global framework for translating information about climate into financial metrics. TCFD is getting attraction today because it's becoming mandatory in many countries, including the UK, and it was formed in the 2015 around the same time of Paris Agreement by the Financial Stability Board of the G20. As a means of coordinating disclosures amongst companies impacted by climate change. ESG reporting and ratings are interconnected but serve different purposes. ESG reporting is consumed by a wide variety of stakeholders, including customers, employees, investors, rating providers, regulators. But on the other hand, ESG ratings are used almost exclusively by investors. And MSCI, for example, Morgan Stanley Capital Investment, is the largest global ESG rating provider. Its rating is similar to Fitch and Moody's S&P credit rating, with 7 grades from AAA to CCC. Why does ESG reporting matters? The financial reporting is almost the tip of the iceberg. So that's why the CFO is not the CFO report is not enough. It doesn't tell the story of how companies act to achieve their numbers. Below the surface, it becomes interesting. ESG factors are essentially the broadest set of factors which can be used to measure a company's impact on the world. And in the past, businesses reported on their CSR, but it lacked the specific standards and reporting measures. So ESG reporting will provide those standards and metrics, so what gets measured can get done, or what gets measured gets done. With that, my last point before I hand over to Angie is about why ESG really matters. ESG could increase stakeholders' trust, mitigate immediate and long-term risks, and the climate risk is the most notable example. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, said, "Climate risk is investment risk." Investors are using ESG as a screening method for choosing where to invest. ESG practices can be a source of competitive advantage. It creates opportunities. And for example, Unilever was able to access unserved customer base by supporting local businesses that sold their products. Also, Unilever, its purpose-led brands such as Lipton tea outperformed others and growing by around 69% faster than the rest of the business and driving its growth today. This also including providing better quality life in developing countries such as Kenya and Sri Lanka for like tea growers and their families in terms of healthcare, education. Simply, Unilever did well by doing good to communities, and all business can do too. Customers are willing to pay more for sustainable products. Talents are more interested in sustainable organizations. Before I hand over to Angie, I would like to highlight that standards and the frameworks are a tool, but they are not enough on their own. It requires ethical and effective leadership with a clear purpose, core values and aligned corporate culture.